Obviously a terrifying experience for anybody, especially a 13-year-old. We're gonna be talking about some heavy-hitting stuff. The older I get, the more I like and appreciate the character of Lupin. Yes, all aboard the Hogwarts Express. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Muggles and Mocha, where we are breaking down the third Harry Potter book, Prisoner of Azkaban. And if you're new, this is Muggles and Mocha. It is a Harry Potter book club that is going through every single Harry Potter book, one chapter at a time. This book club is connected to my editing website, madisonkdarby.com. There you can find my social media handles, articles about the book, articles about writing, just a lot of fun stuff. So feel free to follow us along on this journey. And also, if you like this video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you'll be notified when new videos come out, because I gotta say, we have some exciting new videos on the way, so stay tuned for that. Also, feel free to leave a comment. I want to go ahead and say thank you guys so much for your comments. I love reading them, and they're so encouraging, and it's just fun discussing these things with you guys. I'm not the best at responding, but it's not because I don't want to, it's because you guys leave such thorough comments and they're fun. I want to, when I do respond to them, for it to be well thought out answers, and just, yeah, what I'm trying to say is you people inspire me with your comments, so thank you so much. Be sure to get your coffee for today, because this chapter is a big one and we're gonna talk about it for a while today. I hope that editing this is not as hard as I foresee. My coffee for today is in a very special mug that I do not think I have shown you guys, and it was a Christmas present from my husband, and I love it. It's Full Metal Alchemist. I've talked about it before, but Bishop got me this mug, and as you can see, it just, it makes me very happy. Let's get started in chapter 5, the Dementor. This is it's a serious chapter, guys. We're gonna be talking about some heavy-hitting stuff, and I did want to start out by giving a little bit of a warning. We are going to be talking about Dementors today, as you know, but more importantly, we are talking about what inspired that creature in the Harry Potter universe, and that is the subject of depression. We're not going to be diving explicitly into the issue, but it will be talked about. So if that's something that you don't want to hear about, you'd rather skip this episode, that's perfectly fine. I totally understand. I just wanted to throw that out there and let you know that is a subject that we're going to be discussing. And actually, I will include the timestamp in the description box below, so you can see when that discussion starts and ends, and you're totally free to skip by that part of the video if that's what you want to do. So just wanted to throw that out there. Without further ado, let's start chapter 5. And we're going to be zooming through some of these smaller details because this chapter is so full of stuff. So where we left off, Harry is staying at the Leaky Cauldron. Harry, Hermione, and the Weasleys travel to platform 9 3/4 to leave for Hogwarts. And I just gotta say, whenever we get close to Hogwarts, I feel like my adrenaline just starts pumping up, and I'm like, yes, all aboard the Hogwarts Express. Harry and Mr. Weasley have a talk. He's been protective of him on this trip, and Harry's just honest with him that he overheard the conversation between him and Mrs. Weasley. And Mr. Weasley begins to hint to Harry and to us that Harry might have reason to want to pursue Sirius Black, that he might want to go after him. And at this point, we don't really know why, but it's just a little plant there for us to see that that is something that is going to be coming up later in the book. And Arthur Weasley is a pretty smart guy. He knows, like, while there are things that definitely do scare Harry, Harry is willing to run into danger. We've seen him do that time and time again, especially when it comes to things he cares about. They board the Hogwarts Express, and Harry talks to Ron and Hermione about this news about Sirius Black. And Hermione actually echoes Mr. Weasley's sentiments, don't go looking for trouble. And Harry says that trouble comes looking for him. And while I definitely believe that, I mean, Harry obviously from a young age was thrown into situations that he shouldn't have to be in. There are things that are going to follow him for his entire life because of the actions of other people. So, like, trouble is there. But let's be real. I mean, you think about Harry running to go save the Sorcerer's Stone, running to go to the Chamber of Secrets. And am I saying that was bad? No, like, people would have died and Voldemort might have come back. You know, I'm not saying it's bad, but for him to say that, like, he doesn't seek out trouble, I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. I don't think that it's that he just likes going after trouble, but he's driven by his convictions and what's important to him. I think it's an admirable thing, but I did chuckle when he said that. In this compartment, they also see Professor R.J. Lupin, Remus John Lupin, who has now entered the scene. And you know what? The older I get, the more I like and appreciate the character of Lupin. I actually think that as the books go on, that he becomes a more underrated figure in Harry's life. And I'm not saying that fans don't like him. Obviously, they do. But, you know, like in the face of people like Sirius or even Mrs. Weasley and stuff like that, I feel like Lupin kind of gets shunted to the side. But in this book, you know, it's all about Harry discovering family. You know, the obvious one being Sirius Black, who is his godfather. But second, Harry finds a father figure in Lupin. I think Lupin is the true father figure for Harry, and I'm not hating on Sirius. I like Sirius. But they obviously are different people, and the function that they serve in Harry's life is different. And as the books continue, we see Harry and Lupin have a very real relationship, and they talk about hard things. They fight. Lupin is also like a big encourager to Harry, and he teaches him a lot of things. So I think it's kind of cool that in this book, not only does Harry get his godfather, which is, you know, the family that he always wanted, he also meets this person who, as the books continue, becomes this father figure in his life. And then I'm not going to get off on this too much, but something that's special is he also gives Harry the opportunity to become a father figure to someone, being Teddy. You know, we don't know much at all about Harry's relationship with Teddy Lupin. But yeah, just kind of special that Lupin is someone who is so important to Harry, taught him so much, became a father figure, and then makes Harry the godfather of his son, and kind of repeats that process again. Anyway, getting all sentimental over here, but you know. Throughout this book, we're going to be talking, obviously, about Lupin and Harry's relationship as they first meet, so stay tuned for that. There will probably be an article about them, if I had to guess. And guys, what do you think about Lupin's casting, the actor who plays him? Lupin at this point in the story would be 34 years old when Harry meets him. I think it's so crazy to consider that James and Lily were killed when they were 21. But yes, Lupin would be 34. And I think the guy that they got to play him, which I'm spacing on his name right now, I think like he did a great job at playing Lupin. But to me, I feel like he looked a bit older than I would expect. I know that Lupin is supposed to be kind of sickly and, you know, more aged than he should be at 34 as far as how he looks. I don't know. What do y'all think about that? I struggle with that sometimes. I struggle about the casting for the adults and with their ages, because you've got Lupin and then definitely Gary Oldman playing Sirius. I like Gary Oldman. I think he's a great actor, but I just think he's too old to be Sirius. And like Sirius is supposed to be like this super good looking man. I mean, he's obviously been through a lot and he has been in prison for 13 years, so that takes its toll. But Gary Oldman, I think it was a little too far. But I'm also spoiled from my Instagram artist, which I've talked about a couple of times, Alicia Trunfio. I'll link her Instagram page down below. And she illustrates the Marauders a lot. So now when I think of Lupin, I kind of think of how she draws him, which is a little younger than I would expect him to look. So maybe I'm thinking in between that and the Lupin we have. I'll insert a picture showing you them, and just imagine in the middle of that is what I think. Anyway, back to our time in the Hogwarts Express. We have a couple of more conversations. Harry approaches the idea of Hogsmeade, that he's not going to be able to go. They get some food, which, as we already know, is like my favorite part of the series. We see Malfoy. I am not excited to see him again. You know, that's something I'm noticing on this read through the books. Like, my feelings toward Malfoy are a lot stronger than they used to be. I don't think that I disliked him this much when I read it as a younger person. Then we get into the exciting, thrilling part of the chapter. The lights go out, the train stops. Neville and Ginny pile into the trio's compartment with Lupin, who wakes up with a bunch of kids freaking out. And then a Dementor appears for the first time. So we're going to be focusing on Dementors a lot in this video, and it is also the topic of my article for this week, which you can find down below. But how we're going to talk about it today is I'll discuss Harry's first interaction with a Dementor here, his reaction, the inspiration behind these creatures, and then I'll kind of get more into our article for this week. So to start, I'm just going to read about Harry's first interaction with a Dementor. An intense cold swept over them all. Harry felt his own breath catch in his chest. The cold went deeper than his skin. It was inside his chest. It was inside his very heart. Harry's eyes rolled up into his head. He couldn't see. He was drowning in cold. There was a rushing in his ears as though of water. He was being drowned downward, the roaring growing louder. And then, from far away, he heard screaming, terrible, terrified, pleading screams. He wanted to help whoever it was. He tried to move his arms, but he couldn't. A thick white fog was swirling around him, inside him. And then he gets screamed at by his friends, and he wakes up. So, obviously a terrifying experience for anybody, especially a 13-year-old. First of all, I'm not going to talk about what Dementors actually are too much. For that, you can check out the article. I go into all of that. What are they? Where did they come from? Can you even kill them? But as a short summary, the Dementors are the guards from Azkaban. They are horrible, horrible creatures that basically suck the happiness out of any area and make people feel miserable and incapacitated. And their ultimate finishing move, if you want to call it that, is that they have the Dementor's Kiss, which is where they suck the soul out of people, just leaving them as empty shells. So yeah, probably the scariest creatures that are in the Harry Potter universe, or they are to me, definitely. Okay, and starting now, we are going to be venturing into the topic of depression. So if you would like to leave at this point, we're going to talk about that for a while. So the inspiration for Dementors, according to J.K. Rowling, is depression. Rowling struggled with severe depression before writing the Harry Potter books. She had divorced her husband, the father of her daughter, and, you know, that was just one of the things that was going on in her life. She was a struggling single mother and just going through a very, very dark time in her life. So when it came to describing the worst creatures in the Harry Potter universe, she played off of the worst experience in her life, which was the depression she experienced, to truly create something that was horrifying to her and Harry as a result. And obviously, because of this inspiration, we see a lot of similarities between the symptoms of depression and the symptoms that Harry and his friends experience when confronted with a Dementor. First, I wanted to start off with something that I think really stands out in this image, which is the cold feeling that everyone experiences in their chest, in their heart, as Harry said. And then Ron's words of he felt as if he'd never be cheerful again. So this was J.K. Rowling drawing off of her own experience in order to create these creatures. And this is actually something that J.K. Rowling said in an interview. She said, "It is that absence of being able to envisage that you will ever be cheerful again, the absence of hope, that very deadened feeling, which is so very different from feeling sad. Sad hurts, but it's a healthy feeling. It's a necessary thing to feel. Depression is very different." And it was a very, very interesting article to read, not only for her thoughts on Dementors and the inspiration behind creating those, but also some of the other things that she talked about in that interview when it comes to writing the Harry Potter books. So we have J.K. Rowling's words on Dementors, and here are some symptoms of depression that I found on WebMD. People who are experiencing depression usually feel a sense of hopelessness, misery, emptiness, helplessness, and physical symptoms accompany these emotional symptoms as well, such as weakness, nausea, feeling as if you're just unable to eat, exhaustion, no energy. A lot of the feelings that we see Harry go through after this Dementor attack. And I feel like especially hopelessness sticks out to me as something that Harry individually feels whenever he's confronted with a Dementor. And I just want to take a moment to say this, but if you've ever experienced depression or are currently experiencing it, you're not alone. I feel like that's a really cliche thing to say, but it's true. It's a dark, dark place to be, and things like therapy and talking to people about what you're feeling, it seems like the last thing that you would want to do. But it can truly be a game changer and just a step toward the light that seems to constantly elude you when you're in a state like that. So please turn to the people in your life who love you and want the best for you, because when you're going through dark times like that, we can't do those things alone. I think that a way that we see that actually is how the people in the magical world have to fight off Dementors. They use a Patronus, which is like a guardian, but in Harry's case, the happy memory that he relies on are memories with his friends and the people that he loves. And I think that even just in a kid's book like this, we see that we're not meant to go through struggles like that by ourselves. We need other people in our life to help pick us up and make us stronger. And I think we really see that through the character of Harry in these books. Something else I find interesting, comparing the Dementors in these books to depression in the real world, is that different people who experience this are affected by it uniquely, depending on their experiences. And we see this too from the reactions of the people that are in the train compartment when the Dementor comes. They're all affected negatively, but the feelings that come from the horrible source of these feelings, the Dementors, are different from each of them, and we can see that based on their responses. Unfortunately, as we're mostly focused on Harry in this narrative, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but in this instance, it's not as helpful, is because we're not able to really see the intricacies of these different responses or what the different characters were feeling here. But I do want to focus on two characters in this scene. And of course, we're going to be starting with Harry. Harry is severely affected by Dementors. He's the only one who passes out. He hears his parents screaming almost immediately after the Dementor comes. So it happens very quickly. And what these Dementors do, like I've said, is feed on the happiness that's inside of you until eventually all that's left is the worst memories and emotions that a person has. And of course, these kids don't get to that point. That more so would happen to people who are having to live in Azkaban with these horrible things. But it makes you think, Harry's horrible past that is there, even like the subconscious parts, like, he's never remembered his mom screaming as she begged for her life before. These things come to the surface very quickly and affect him soon after the Dementor enters the compartment. And Harry is so affected because his past is traumatic. He has gone through some horrible, horrible things. So it's easy when there's something like a Dementor around for those things to come to the surface because they're so powerful. And I'm just in awe of Harry because with all of this inside of him, it's amazing that we don't see him struggle even more than he already does under these circumstances. Like, he is a strong kid who has faced tragedy. I think he's the only person that we ever see faint from a Dementor encounter. Eventually, I think that people would, but we've not seen anyone do this on this scale, and I don't think we see it again. And I think that it just says a lot about Harry, what he has faced and how he deals with it. He is able to continue to find the happiness that he experiences at places like Hogwarts and with his friends. And I don't know, of all the things we see of Harry, obviously he's a brave kid, but I think that it just shows it even more so. The next person I want to discuss from this scene is Ginny Weasley. This is something I haven't thought about in depth until now, but she's the only other person mentioned here as having a strong reaction to the Dementors. We see her sob, and Ron says that she was shaking very badly. Harry says that she looks like he feels, and not that the others haven't, weren't feeling the effects of the Dementors' presence, but I think that it's not a coincidence that Ginny is the one who is mentioned, because we know what she went through last year, not even a year ago, with Tom Riddle and the Chamber of Secrets. She has just been through some horrible, horrible things, which I think is why she's the only person specifically mentioned as being affected, because those in this world who have gone through just more terrible things in their lives are going to be more affected by Dementors, because they're more susceptible to them. Like I said, I talk about all these things in our article as well, down in the description box. I think I've already said that 3 times already, but you should read it because it was a very fun one to research, because I have a lot of questions about Dementors, like their origins, where on earth do they come from? We talk about that a little bit. Can they die? What are they really? Why is chocolate helpful when it comes to them? So if you're interested in learning more about them, feel free to click that link below and you can find out more about Dementors. Moving on, Harry is embarrassed and confused about what happened, as anybody would be, and Malfoy makes fun of him. Like I said, not happy to have Malfoy back here. McGonagall and Pomfrey talk to Harry about it. We have Harry saying that he isn't delicate, which, I mean, I don't think he's delicate technically, but I just can imagine a 13-year-old like getting all flustered and yelling about it. And we end with the feast, where we learn a bit more about the Dementors' role at Hogwarts and meet our 2 new professors, Lupin and Hagrid. So we are ending back at Hogwarts. I'm ready to get back into those classes. Through the portrait hall and across the common room, the girls and boys divided toward their separate staircases. Harry climbed the spiral stair with no thought in his head except how glad he was to be back. They reached their familiar circular dormitory with its 5 4-poster beds, and Harry, looking around, felt he was home at last. Me too, Harry. I mean, why can't we just go to Hogwarts? That's it for today. Next time we'll be meeting Professor Trelawney in Chapter 6. I haven't thought about this character in a long time or read about her, and I feel like I'm gonna get pretty annoyed. So, is she this book's Lockhart? Thanks for stopping by. I'm so happy to have you guys around and watching these videos. I really hope that you like them. And like I said, there's gonna be some more videos coming out here soon. I'm actually gonna record one right after this, so gonna get some more content for you guys. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Bye.